Hi everyone, John from Office Ready here. Welcome to part 2 of my Excel Basics tutorial. If you didn't see the first part, I highly recommend you check it out. It's on my channel. In this tutorial, we're actually going to take a closer look at what Excel was designed to do, and that's deal with numbers. So we'll have a look at creating some really simple formulas, creating some totals, and also formatting columns correctly. So you ready? Let's dive in. So before we get started, one thing I've noticed when watching these videos back myself is that if you're not watching in full screen mode, sometimes it can be quite difficult to see what menu options I'm clicking on. So rather than having to constantly zoom in and out on the parts of the screen I want you to see, I do recommend that you watch these videos in full screen mode. If you saw part 1 of this tutorial, this spreadsheet should look fairly familiar to you. It's the one we were working on. If you didn't see part 1, then this is just a basic list of sales where we have an order date, region, account, rep, item, and then the total units sold, and then the cost and the selling price of each individual unit. So in these last 3 columns, we have some numeric values. I've got the total units sold, and what the cost and the selling price of each individual unit is. And what I want to do is I actually want to know what the total cost was and the total selling price. So it's simply going to be the units sold times the unit cost and the units sold times the unit selling price. So column I want to be total cost. So if I click into the first available cell, all Excel formulas start with an equals sign. So I'm going to press equals. And then when using the mouse, I'm going to click on the units sold, press the times symbol on the keyboard, and click on unit cost. So F2 times G2. Then when I press return, it gives me a total cost. Now what I don't want to have to do is type that formula into every single row. That would be tedious. What I want to be able to do is take that formula and just copy it down, and there's a couple of ways you can do this. You'll notice in the bottom right hand corner of this cell there's a little square, little green square, and if I hover the mouse over it, you'll notice that the cursor changes. When the cursor changes in this way, if you click the mouse and hold the button and drag it down, then when I let go, it will copy that formula down to the next row. And then you could drag that all the way to the bottom and then let go, and there you go. You've now got a total cost price column. Now I'm going to undo that, so Control Z is good old undo. There's a quicker way to do it. Rather than clicking and dragging that button all the way down, if you simply double click when the cursor changes in the bottom right hand corner, Excel will automatically fill that formula all the way down to the end of the data set there. So as long as there's data in the adjacent cell, when you double click that icon there, it will automatically copy the formula down. So if we scroll back up to the top and give this a proper column heading, total cost. In the next column, we want to create a similar formula for total selling price. So I'm going to click into the next cell, press an equal sign to start the formula, and then click on units sold times, and then this time units sell, and I'll press enter. And then if we take our little trick of copying that formula all the way to the bottom, so if I click back into this cell, double click on the little square in the bottom right hand corner of that cell, that will copy that formula all the way down, which it's done. And then I'm going to give that a column heading at the top. And then widen that column out. Now that we have our total sales and cost price, I'd like to create a cash margin by simply taking the cost off the selling price. So we're going to create another formula to do that. So I'm going to click into the first cell available in column K, and I'm going to start off our formula with an equal sign, and I'm just simply going to say total selling price minus total cost, and press enter. And then using the techniques we used earlier on, I'm going to copy that formula all the way to the bottom. So if I click back into that cell, double click the little square in the bottom right hand corner and copy that formula all the way down. So let's call this margin dollars. And now that we've got our margin in cash, I'd like to create a margin percent as well. So let's click into the next available cell along and start an equals, and we'll say cash margin divided by total selling price. And then let's copy that down and call this margin percent, and widen that column out to see all of the values. And there we go. The next thing to do is to format these columns correctly, because we have a variety of numeric values here. Some are integers, these ones are clearly currency fields, and this one here is a percentage, but it's not really being displayed properly. So if I want to format an entire column in the same way, so I'm going to format units sold as an integer. If I highlight the entire column by clicking on the column heading at the top, now if I right mouse click, one of the options here is format cells. Now I'm showing you this seems to be the long way around, because we do have some buttons on the toolbar here in the ribbon that will do it for you, but I'm going to show you the old school way of doing it, because you've got a few more options in there. So I'm going to click on format cells, and then I get a list of things that I can do. I want to format this cell as a number, so as I click on there, I can control how many decimal places it's going to be. So because this is an integer, I'm going to set that to 0 decimal places. But I also like to use 1,000, so when it gets into the thousands, I actually want a little comma just to separate the numbers a little bit. So I'm going to click on that little use thousand separator. If the number is negative, I want it to show in red as well, just so that it jumps out of the page. So I'm going to click on this little formatting here at the bottom and then click on OK. And then you'll notice that all of the values in that column have now been formatted as we said earlier on. So if I change that to 25,000, that gets formatted correctly. Now all the columns here, G, H, I, J and K, these are all currency fields, so I want to set these to be dollars to 2 decimal places. So I'm going to highlight all of those columns by clicking the column headings at the top and just dragging across, and I'm going to format all of these columns in one go because they're highlighted. So I'm going to right mouse click, go back to format cells. This time I'm going to select currency. Now the default symbol for me here is pounds because I'm in the UK and that's what my default currency symbol is here. But if I click on the little down arrow there, I can pick whatever currency item is appropriate for me. So let's say this was in United States US dollars. If I click on United States and click on OK, that's now formatted all of those columns as a currency field. And then the last column to format is the margin percent. So I want to format this as a percentage, and this time I'm going to show you the quick way to do it using the ribbon. So if I highlight column L, go up to the ribbon here, there's actually a button there called percentage, and if I click on that, it will format that column as a percentage. I actually want this to go to 2 decimal places though, so there's a button here. These buttons here will allow you to increase or decrease the number of decimal places that a cell will go to. So if I click this button here, increase decimal, a couple of times, that will increase the number of decimal places. Now because we highlighted the entire columns when we did this formatting, if any data gets added underneath, it will automatically be formatted appropriately. So if I put a value in here, you can see that's now formatted properly as an integer, and if I enter 50 in there, that gets formatted as dollars because we've formatted the entire column to be formatted in the same way. So I'm just going to undo that, holding the Control key and pressing Z. That's got me out of trouble a lot of times. Undo. And then if I go back to the top of the spreadsheet, I like to use the keyboard when I'm navigating as much as possible because I find it's quicker. So actually, if I hold the Control key down and press the Home key, it will just jump straight back to the top of the spreadsheet. So really the only thing that's left for us to do is to add some totals to our columns. So if we scroll down to where the data stops and position the cursor on the row beneath the data set. So I want to sum this column, and Excel has a very quick way to do this. Rather than typing in a formula, in the top right hand corner on the ribbon up here, this is on the Home tab, you've got Auto Sum, and if I click that button, Excel automatically realizes that there's some data directly above it and puts the formula in for me. So it's going to sum all the values that are in that range of cells. So if I just press return, there we go. I've got quickly added that column up. And now all I need to do really is, I could do the same again. I could come to total cost and go to auto sum, press enter. Really what I would do in that situation is just drag that formula over. In the same way earlier we dragged the formula down, you can also drag horizontally. So I'm going to drag that over to the next cell, and there we go. And you can see, because we formatted these columns all in one go, the values are actually correctly formatted as well below it. So let's just drag that one over there as well. Now on the margin you need to be a little bit careful, because if I drag that formula over into that cell, that's not going to return the right value because that is doing a sum. Well, I don't want it to sum those numbers. I simply want it to do that calculation again between these two numbers. So rather than, I'm going to get rid of that. If I come up to this cell and then drag that formula down, that now returns the correct value. So I hope you found part 2 of my Excel basics tutorial useful. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be releasing lots of other videos that you might find useful, from Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Office, working with data, that kind of thing. Leave me some comments in the section below if you've got some feedback for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.